Hi everyone, I'm Mark Thompson and the Royal Report is back. I'm not sure it's by overwhelming demand, but my boss demands it, and that's good enough for me. So the weekly highlight show is back for the Reading Royals, the ECHL affiliate of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Toronto Marlies, as well as the Boston Bruins. And when you think of home openers, you think of all of the excitement, the pomp and circumstance, the fans excited for the start of a brand new shining season, the team energetically charging out on the ice on their way to victory. But for the Royals, for the last 5 years, we've had pretty much nothing but duds in our home openers. It's time to turn that around right now.
But Saturday's home opener against the Cincinnati Cyclones started on an all-too-familiar note, with the opponent striking first. When midway into the opening period, Cyclones defender Keith Seabrook rimmed one into the offensive end, and Anthony Luciani stepped up on the right half wall and fed a perfect pass to the middle of the ice, where a waiting Ben Ryan ripped it home. About 4 minutes later, the Royals responded with a power play goal when Denny Urban threaded one through from the high slot to a perfectly positioned Matt Caruana, who in turn tapped it cross crease for Rob Scheer, who didn't miss. For Scheer, who turned 35 last week and is in his 16th year of pro and was playing his 891st game, there's not a whole lot in pro hockey that he hasn't done before, but that was his first goal in the ECHL. Cincinnati took their second lead of the game midway into the second period while on the power play, when Adam Comrie stepped up and ripped a one-timer from the ladies' tees, as they say, to make it a 2-1 game. Hey, when you're that big, you should have to play from the tips, but that's a story for a different day. So the Royals found themselves trailing again as they entered the third period. So who are you gonna call? No, not the Ghostbusters. If you followed this show at all, you know that much. Not even Captain Clutch this time, but dial-up goaltender Mark Awuya, who made any number of clutch saves in the critical stages of the early third period to keep the Royals in and give the power play a chance to fuel the comeback. Okay, let's just admit it. They weren't pretty, but we really don't care what the Russian judge thinks anyway, as long as the puck ends up in the net. And on these two power play goals, the first by Casey Haynes 9:43 into the third, and the eventual game winner by Matt Caruana, with just 5:05 left in regulation, well, they're kind of like an ugly baby. They make you cringe, but you still gotta love them. And just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, Cincinnati pressed hard in the waning moments, only to have Awuya harpoon the whale and haul in his first North American pro win.
Well, that was a little bit better than last year's home opener, wasn't it? That one we were smashed by the Elmira Jackals by a final score of 7-2. At least we don't have to endure that debacle again. Or do we?
Unfortunately, we do. Or we did. Now, did I say it was safe to go back in the water? Didn't you guys pay attention to the opening scenes in Jaws? Well, if you didn't, check out Sunday afternoon's matchup against the perennial powerhouse Florida Everblades for a little refresher course. Right from the word get-go, Royals goaltender Joe Palmer had to feel like the proverbial roasted chicken thrown into the middle of a pit of hungry gators, as the Everblades swarmed the Royals' net and the blood was in the water and 2 goals were in the net before we could even get the Tarzan call out of our mouths. But I'm not sure even if we had all the animals of the jungle on our side in this one we could have turned the tide, as the Everblades kept snapping away and by the 15-second mark of the second period of play held a 4-0 lead after Florida forward David Rutherford converted on a breakdown and a breakaway. And about 3 minutes later, a power play goal by defenseman David Fisher elicited a collective groan from the Royals faithful. Even so, there were a couple of flashes of sunlight on this rather bleak Sunday afternoon. Matt Caruana became the first Royal this season to score for a second time as he bagged another power play goal from in tight midway into the second period. And Ryan Crothers became the 10th different Royal to register a goal so far this year when he scored early in the third. But the Everblades just shrugged that off and went piranha and swarmed the crease again, earning a rebound goal from Matthew Waugh, who stuffed one back after substitute goaltender Mark Awuya had made a nice stop on a rocket from the point off the stick of former Royal Ryan Donald. And just to add insult to injury, Robbie G buried the first shorthanded goal against the Royals this year to make it 7-2. Ah, 7-2. That score sounds familiar. It just took us 2 games to get there this year rather than 1. And for you glass half full guys out there, I suppose that is some improvement.
Wow, where's the amnesia when you need it? I'd like to forget that one about as quickly as possible. And I guess the best way to do that is to get right back at it. And the Royals do. 3 games this week, starting Thursday against the South Carolina Stingrays here at Sovereign Center. On Friday, we're in Trenton, and then on Saturday, we take on the Gwinnett Gladiators back here at Sovereign Center. That continues a trend where 9 of the first 10 games for the Royals are against teams from outside the division. It wouldn't be a bad thing to mix in a 5-on-5 goal as well. It's been about 165 minutes since the Royals have had one of those. Well, until next week, this has been Mark Thompson with your Royal Report.